sections. We're going to have two sections of the presentations. The first two, then we'll take questions, and then the last two, we take questions, and then we have general networking. So again, this is the Engineering Forum of Nigerians, EFN UK. We're the foremost professional association for the engineering profession and people in the built environment in the UK. And our primary goal is to influence the development of engineering in Nigeria, and not just to influence the development of engineering in Nigeria, to help those of us who are here, people who find themselves here, also to be able to establish themselves and make good success of their careers. Our influence is far-reaching. You'll be surprised. Many of the things that have happened in Nigeria have been on account of EFN. People have gone out of this association to go and support the Nigerian government. So we don't just talk, we do. So, but enough of that. Our first presentation is going to be by our president, Engineer Oladapo Sulu. He'll give a brief introduction of himself, and then he will introduce his topic. So after his presentation, we would have Mr. Agbola Oba. Mr. Agbola Oba is going to be talking frankly about what do you do, how do you prepare before you leave Nigeria to come to the UK. So I hope you stay with us until the very end. As with all of our events, it promises to be very exciting. Thank you. So some house rules. While the presenter is making his presentation, everybody will be muted, but you can use the chat functions. I'll make a note, I'm moderating, I'll make a note of chat contributions. And then when it comes to, if you need to ask a question, please put your hand up, we'll admit you. You ask your question, and then when it comes to general networking, everybody will be unmuted. Thank you very much. So EFN President, let's welcome him, Engineer Oladapo Sulu, for his presentation. Thank you.
Much. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this event. We're glad to have you from wherever you are in the world. It's an honor to be with you, and we do hope that we'll be able to, by the time this event is over, you would have gained a good understanding of EFN and EFN's values. I have a presentation which I'll give now, but I'll just do a brief introduction of myself. I'm a civil engineer. I graduated from Ahmadu Bello University a long time ago, 1983. I have a master's degree in geomaterials from the University of London, which I obtained in 1995. I run my own consultancy in London, and I've worked on projects of all types: infrastructure development, railways, highways, building development, design, construction, solar energy projects, and so on and so forth for a very long time. So I'm just about to share my presentation now. So if you could please let me share my screen, Administrator.
Oh yes, you can share your screen.
Okay, good. Can you see my screen now?
We can see your screen.
Okay, good. So we'll move forward. Right, let me see. Right, so this is just, first of all, I'll just briefly introduce EFN for those who are new to EFN. The EFN's aim, one of EFN's aims and objectives is to provide a forum for Nigerian engineers based in the UK for the purpose of promoting and influencing engineering development in all its ramifications in Nigeria, to promote the development and mentoring of young people from all sectors of the community, as well as all other persons with interests in the field of engineering in the UK, and to promote any other charitable purposes in the UK, Europe, and worldwide in support of these objectives. Our mission: to promote the exchange of ideas and engineering knowledge, provide networking opportunities among Nigerian engineers in UK and abroad, contribute to and influence engineering development in Nigeria, and to promote, encourage, and support the development of engineering skills among young people in Nigeria and the UK. The primary objective of EFN is to influence the development of engineering in Nigeria in all its ramifications. EFN was formed in 2004 as the premier professional association in the UK for UK-based engineering professionals of Nigerian descent and others with demonstrable interest in the development of engineering as a profession in Nigeria. At its inception, EFN received encouragement and support of the Nigerian High Commissioner to the UK at the time, Dr. Christopher Kolade, CON. At its startup, membership comprised engineering practitioners, academic researchers, lecturers and students, as well as allied built environment and business professionals. We continue to receive excellent support and guidance from the present Nigerian High Commissioner, His Excellency Ambassador Dr. Cyprian Heen. Currently, EFN has over 220 members who are made up of civil, mechanical, electrical, structural, biomedical, chemical, environmental engineers, as well as other professionals from the built environment like architects, quantity surveyors, estimators, planners, and so on and so forth. Our members range from undergraduate and postgraduate students to chartered engineers, lecturers, and professors of engineering. Many of our members possess UK chartered engineering status, and many also possess NSC and current membership. Some of our members are CEOs of multi-million-pound consulting and contracting businesses in UK and abroad. We also have some professors and heads of UK engineering departments amongst us, and also directors of private businesses. So moving on to today's topic, coming to work in the UK for engineering professionals when you arrive in the UK. A lot of what I'm going to say is based on personal experience and experience of people who have come in contact with. The first thing you need to do, visit this website. Now, UK ENIC is UK National Information Centre for Global Qualifications and Skills. ECCTIS is a gold standard provider of solutions and services in international education, training and skills, and in the development and recognition of globally portable qualifications. It is an internationally trusted and respected reference point for qualifications and standards. The general idea is that when people come from Nigeria, they have their qualifications, and in order to set the standard of their qualifications and compare them to UK qualifications, there's a need for equivalence to be obtained. So therefore, the first step to do is to check this website out and see how your qualifications match UK standard qualifications. Also, for those who come from Nigeria, make sure you obtain a transcript of your qualifications from the institution you graduated from. Whether it's Ahmadu Bello University like myself, that's where I came from, IFE, Unilag, Nsukka, and so on and so forth. Make sure you have a transcript of your qualifications. They can usually take a long time to obtain, so it'd be a good idea to get this done immediately. Also, you should ideally obtain copies of all your academic certificates, even starting from primary school, because I remember I was asked for mine. And these things take a long time to get hold of. If you possess membership of Nigerian professional institutions, do not allow them to lapse, especially Koren, because it can make things easy for you when applying for work in UK. When you come to UK, these are some websites which I suggest you visit. The first thing is visit the Engineering Council website. I put the address here. Now, the Engineering Council is the overall body which regulates the operation of engineering in the UK. So it'd be a good idea to visit this website. And also, anyone who comes here should seek graduate membership of any of the professional institutions. If you're a civil engineer, visit the website of the Institution of Civil Engineers. Same thing for structural engineers, mechanical engineers. For electrical engineers and mechanical engineers, you can also visit Institution of Engineering and Technology. If you have an environmental or water resources background, you can visit the Institution of Water and Environmental Management. If you are a computer professional, you can visit the British Computer Society. There's also the Energy Institute for people who work in the Energy Institute field. So I think the best thing to do is just do a Google search. You know what you've done, and make sure you visit these websites, and they'll give you guidance on how to achieve professional registration in UK. But the first thing to do, visit your profession's website and try to obtain graduate membership. Another good idea would be practice and master interview techniques. Now, things are done differently in UK as compared to Nigeria. And one thing I've noticed is that sometimes people come here, they have the excellent academic skills, but they haven't really mastered how to perform in an interview. So that's when you go and sell yourself. So it'd be a good idea to practice and master interview techniques. There's a lot of guidance to be obtained on the internet to this. And also learn how to speak in public, in practice, how to deliver a speech, deliver papers or presentations, because sometimes from just delivering a paper or making a presentation, you may highlight your abilities and skills, and you could be nominated for a position, or you attract the right kind of attention for yourself. It's a very useful skill that can boost one's professional profile and improve job prospects. It'd be a good idea to prepare a comprehensive CV. Now, a CV, when applying for jobs, your CV is typically one of the most important documents you're going to submit. A good CV effectively communicates your most useful qualifications and most attractive qualities. Making sure you have a good CV that's appealing to potential employers can greatly boost your chances of getting the job you want. So it's good to invest in producing a good CV. It's also essential that you become computer literate, because everything in UK is done via computer. Become familiar with basic computer software such as Microsoft Office and so on and so forth. This is so if you're working, you are familiar with laptops and keyboards and all the other various equipment which is computer-based, which you may be given in the course of your work. Being computer literate improves your problem-solving skills, can help individuals become better problem solvers, can lead to increased productivity in both workplace and at home. Computer literacy can also enhance an individual's communication skills and provide greater career opportunities. Finally, another thing one should do is learn how to improve your typing speed. When I type, I just press one finger, one by one. But if you want to move on in the engineering field, it'd be a good idea to learn how to type fast. You can check out the internet for relevant courses. It's also advisable to learn how to write simple computer programs like coding. It's a natural addition to your technical skills. improves critical thinking and creativity skills, and improves your marketability. Most, if not all, everything that's done in engineering nowadays involves computer programming of one sort or the other. And if you're able to master coding, write simple programs, you could actually improve your marketability, improve your exposure, and you never know, it could get you a better job. Learn how to drive and obtain a UK driving license, because several companies offer company cars with job offers. Maybe offered a job and they say, well, you may need to drive from one site to another, or from one project to another. So I've lost count of some people who I know who've been offered very good jobs, just because they can't drive, can't take up these job offers. So as soon as possible, whenever you can, take driving lessons, obtain a UK driving license. Another idea, and some more ideas: obtain a mentor, a senior professional with experience of working in the UK, to give you advice and guide you during your stay. Someone who's senior in the profession, who can provide encouragement, support your growth as an individual, serve as a source of knowledge, help set career goals, offer encouragement, help make important connections. Someone who's willing to listen and provide constructive feedback. Also, a mentor is a free resource. You don't have to pay. And there are quite a few senior professionals within EFN. So if you wish to get in touch with any of us, just visit our website and we'll be glad to help. It's a good idea to create a portfolio of your work. Wherever you work, take photographs of projects you worked on. Store samples of your work, calculations, presentations, and documents for future reference, because you never know when this information may come in handy. A portfolio tells your professional narrative in a compelling way, generates credibility, offers a reminder of your outstanding achievements, and helps potential clients visualize working with you. It improves chances of gaining customers and provides a strong supplement to your verbal skills. So when you're working on a project, just take regular pictures every day. Some of the forms you take, the documents, pictures, and so on and so forth. You never know when they'll come in handy. This has proved a good backup for during my career so far. Never stop learning. Always be ready to learn. If you're offered training courses at work or within your professional life, just take advantage of them. There are many online and in-person training courses which could be of benefit and interest in your career. Training and skill enhancement positively impacts efficiency and productivity. Targeted training can improve overall performance, and preparation for higher roles can be encouraged by leadership training. And finally, it boosts morale when employees are trained, offered training, because you never know what advice you may pick up from the training course, and it could help move you forward in your career. It's advised to build strong professional relationships. You never know who may be able to help you. Always good to make contacts, become a member of like-minded organizations. In fact, maybe it's a good idea to become a member of EFN. I've been a member of EFN for a long time, and as you can all see, there are significant benefits to be gained. Now, I want to give specific advice for construction-related engineering professions like civil engineers, quantity surveyors, planners, construction managers, site engineers, and site managers. These are positions which in a short supply, so there are several vacancies that can assist, that are available for those who are ready to work. The first thing one should do is visit this website, www.cscs.uk.com. That's the Construction Skills Certification Scheme. It is a good idea to visit this website, and they'll give you details about a health and safety test which you need to take to obtain a CSCS card. In order to work on any construction site in the UK, you need to possess an appropriate CSCS card. So if you visit this website, they'll give you the details and you'll be able to apply for an appropriate card. Because without this card, you're not deemed to have met the minimum health and safety training standards to work in the UK engineering profession. So it's essential to visit this website, get more details, and obtain a CSCS card. Also, there's an increase in the number of job vacancies in the industry between June and August, when many workers take their annual holidays. During this time, the refurbishment of educational institutions takes place. So there are many jobs in the educational sector. Schools, colleges, universities, and so on and so forth use this period of the summer holidays to carry out refurbishment work. So this is when the additional rise in number of vacancies. So if you're applying for jobs, then is the time to really focus your job search. It is also advisable not to restrict oneself to applying for top-level managerial positions, as positions further down the ladder may be beneficial for new starters. I mean, positions like supervisor, assistant engineer, and so on and so forth. You may find it easier to get these jobs than looking for project manager or engineering director or things of that level. Because once you get into a company at any level, your skills and ability will show up, and then they'll promote you internally. Once experience has been gained, then it's advisable to apply for better jobs. New starters to the UK should apply for permanent positions to familiarize themselves with UK work ethics and standards. Freelance positions should ideally be avoided for the first 5 years. When you're a new starter and you're in a permanent position, you get used to how things work in the UK engineering sector and learn. And during that time, you gain your professional qualification and so on and so forth. It's only when you have the confidence that you should go for the freelance positions. It usually takes a minimum of around 5 years before the average person gets to that level. There's a serious shortage of the following: site engineers. If you can use a robotic total station, I can guarantee you can walk into a job tomorrow, because there's a serious shortage of them. Geotechnical engineers, people who can do logging on sites, there's a shortage of them as well. Engineering technicians, you can use AutoCAD, Revit, and so on and so forth. Planners, if you're proficient with Aster Power Project, Primavera, and so on and so forth. And also structural engineers who have relevant design experience. There's a shortage of these professionals. So if you aim your experience and training towards these sectors, then your employment search shouldn't be too onerous. Do not be tempted to get involved in any type of criminal activity whatsoever. This is very important. All employers carry out criminal checks on prospective employees and possess the right not to employ any individual if they so wish. You can only become a member of a professional body if you have a clean criminal record. Any conviction or caution can cause major employment problems. I know of some people who have been tempted to carry out nefarious activities, and they've ended up getting caught. And once there's a blemish on one's record, I can guarantee you that employment prospects become zero. Because before anybody's employed, the employer carries out a criminal record check. So if you have anything in your criminal record, they just tell you, I'll call you back. I'll get back to you. Also, many businesses carry out random drug and alcohol testing. So anyone who gets caught usually told to leave. And as they say, a word is enough for the wise. Thank you for listening. If you require further information, kindly visit our website, www.efn.org.uk. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Femi.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Engineer Sulu. You would agree with me, that was a brilliant presentation. That was a brilliant presentation. So primarily he was talking about, he was addressing people who have already arrived. The plan was to start with people, what you do before you leave, but our presenter was asked for also a little bit of time. Hence, we started with his. We'll hold on with questioning for a little bit, just to allow our second presenter, Mr. Bolaoba, to make his presentation. He'll be talking about what do you need to do before you leave Nigeria in the first place. So give us a minute, please, and then we'll bring him on. So our presenter, Mr. Bolaoba, has joined now, and he's going to be making his presentation. Mr. Oba, you're welcome. Can you hear me? Okay, so please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, unmute yourself. So Mr.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. We can hear you. You're very welcome. And I've informed the meeting you'll be speaking on what do you do before you come? How do you prepare before you even leave Nigeria for the UK? What are the things you need to do? So you please speak for about 20 minutes, and then we will field questions from yourself and the first presenter, the president of EFN, who was addressing people who have already arrived. Thank you very much for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Femi Balaji. I really appreciate this opportunity. I want to say thank you to the leadership of EFN and the members of EFN for this wonderful opportunity. I must say up front that I am not an engineer. I am in no way, shape, or form blessed enough to be as intellectually and mathematically and scientifically vibrant as the minds those of you engineers carry. But over time, one came to the realization that we cannot define ourselves. We cannot define ourselves as a society to be developed until we encourage science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So notwithstanding the fact that my background is wholly in the social sciences, I decided about 15 years ago that my passion to see a positive transformation in our society would revolve around owning engineering and artisanal technical skills. So I am a co-founder of 2 engineering training institutes in Lagos. I encouraged a returnee engineer to Nigeria when I also returned, and I
Mr. Oba, you are muted. You are muted, please. Mr. Oba, we can't hear you. You are muted. Oh. Okay. So please bear with us while Mr. Oba gets back online.
Dr. Femi.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Because it's on mute. My device is unmuted. I wonder why you're not hearing me.
Yeah,
can you hear me now?
We can. It was your internet. You are muted.
Okay. Okay.
So unmute. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can I be heard now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everybody hear Mr. Oba, please? Please, can everybody hear Mr. Oba? Okay, thank you. We can hear you.
Okay. For me. Okay. I wouldn't know where, people stopped hearing me, but let me quickly go at it. So I said earlier on that I'm not an engineer in any way, shape, or form. I am just one who is resolved that if we need to see progress in our, that if we need to see progress in our society, we need to give emphasis to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I said earlier on that about 15 years ago when I resolved that I was going to be giving, when I was going to be giving emphasis to technical engineering skills development in Nigeria, I encouraged a returnee engineer to Nigeria from the United States of America, an automotive engineer. I encouraged him to start what is now a very prominent automotive mechatronics training institute in Nigeria called Automedics. The success of Automedics about 10 years ago, 9 years ago, convinced me that I could replicate what I had encouraged to come into being in engineering, in automotive mechatronics, that I could replicate it in the construction industry. So I went around the world, Dubai, UK here, United States of America, South Africa, looking for Nigerians who were ready to give back in terms of skills, empowerment of generations of engineers that will come after them, or construction technicians or artisans who were ready to come after them. So I became the visionary and co-founder of a leading building and construction training institute now in Lagos called ULDA Training Institute. My primary motive was, like I said earlier on, just to get Nigerian youths to be skilled, empowered in the things and the vocations through which we can build a sustainable society. You know, we could be conquering the world as we are conquering the world now in music, in the arts, but these things don't build hard knuckle society. And I'm one who believes that none of us here, especially those of us who are above 50, none of us here respected anybody from the Middle East in the 70s and the early 80s when we were in school, because nothing great was happening in the Middle East until we started going to Dubai and we're looking skyscrapers, kissing the heavens. When you get to any society, the degree of respect you give them is measured by the unspoken loudness of engineering artifacts and engineering this thing you see. So that was why, like I said, now we started the training schools, we're running the training schools, and suddenly we discovered that either from Dubai or now the UK, companies short of workers, skilled workers, started contacting us. And I am particularly going to be speaking on construction-related skills that we have mentored people to take up in the UK as a result of requests by companies, and the things that we made sure that they were well grounded in before leaving Nigeria, before departing Nigeria. And that basically will make me to tell two stories to the topic I have. The topic I have is relocation strategies before leaving Nigeria. I want to believe that because this is a forum of engineers, we are talking about relocation strategies that an engineer must put together, must have in his portfolio, must have articulated before leaving Nigeria. And I'll speak by borrowing largely from a session I did with the last set of my wards, last set of my 13 youngsters recruited by UK construction companies through my training institute in Lagos, ULDA Training Institute. I put together an etiquette, a UK living etiquette session for them. And I borrowed largely from some of the things I said to the kids. Fundamentally, as an engineer or a technician or an artisan, if you want to leave Nigeria for the UK, you must first come to the realization that you are going to a society that is governed, managed by the rule of law. The rule of law is supreme in the UK. And when we say the rule of law is supreme in the UK, people may think we are speaking politics or speaking legalism, but the fact is that in the UK, the primacy of law in all spheres of life is not where you would commit a crime and you suddenly call my uncle, who is a big shot somewhere, or call my brother-in-law, who is the head of police. No, you need first to accept that cultural change if you want to emigrate to the UK from Nigeria. Until you come to accept that cultural change, if you come to the UK, you will get yourself in problem. You will be messed up. And I will give some examples of some of the very minutiae or niceties of what I'm talking about. You cannot even be in a construction environment in the UK without a requisite level of competence that certifies you to go there. And Engineer Sulu was talking earlier on, and he was speaking to CSCS. You need to have been proud trained to function in that environment. And if you go there and want to function in that environment, and say an officer of the law comes, suddenly what seemed an opportunity when people were celebrating your emigration in Nigeria could turn to a horrible life experience. So the first thing, make sure that you realize that you need to familiarize yourself with some basics of the law, not only governing the trade or the profession where you want to function, but general lifestyle. General lifestyle. I was telling some of my works, many of them now in the UK, especially in Guernsey and Jersey, because the companies that recruited them from us are located in Guernsey and Jersey. So, and still United Kingdom is just that a dint of cultural system. Because anyway, I was telling them that even after work, you want to chill on a Friday evening, you are at the club, and you see the typical mannerism you manifest in Nigeria, you are trying to manifest it, or you're trying to do something in that distance, and the lady is telling you to stop, and you think, oh, that's how girls do, difficult to get, you are touching and you're getting touchy-feely, that may get into a criminal problem. We are not even talking of a lady coming in inside with you, and you want to gain this thing, and she's saying no, and you don't know that no means no in the UK, not no with a view to just playing the female this thing. So the cultural change is the first thing you want to make sure you are grounded in. First, make sure that you sort out understanding lifestyle and cultural differences that not only revolves around your profession, but even living in the UK. Importantly, too, I'll give you a story of a man who I now see amongst you Nigerian engineers in the UK. I now see him as a phenomenon. If an engineer makes the cover of the newspaper in the city where he's practicing, or in the metropolis where he's practicing, because it doesn't come easy for somebody in engineering to be making covers of newspapers or major tabloids, every day. You are not the typical musician or whatever. But you see, the story of this gentleman started when he got married to a lady. This was about 20 years ago. But I still tell people that the same facts can still prevail. He was already a successful engineer, construction engineer in Nigeria, civil engineer. He'd been taking contracts from major oil companies. He's been doing oil companies works. And he got married to a medical doctor, resident based, actually Nigerian born a Nigerian ancestry, with the Nigerian ancestry, a medical doctor who carries a British passport. And they married. After marriage, as they resolved to come and live in the UK. When they got to the UK, the wife, medical doctor, was practicing, and the young man got his first job in the UK as an engineer. And you see, the very first day he resumed at the construction site, he was told not to come the following day, and it was messed up, so messed up. He didn't know why that was. So ultimately, he had to resort to doing menial jobs to support his family, because he couldn't just allow the wife alone to be earning. And one day the wife was jogging. It was the wife was jogging, and the wife saw an advertisement of a course that he could do for just 1 week, and that after doing the course, the training facilitator said they could get him a job immediately, or they could get whoever partook in the course a job. Initially, he was reluctant because of the amount the company was quoting for the training package. But the wife convinced him and said, whatever it was worth. We're talking about, say, this was about 20 something years ago, and the company wanted to get about £1,000 for the training. They felt the money was too much, but the wife convinced him, whatever it was worth, give it a try. And he gave it a try, and after the 1 week, he started getting jobs. So not only getting jobs, at some point in his life in the UK, about 15 years ago, he had worked for the 5 major construction companies in the UK. Was headhunted from United Kingdom, headhunted to Dubai, also did so great in Dubai that as I speak now, a UK company had to headhunt him back. Indeed, this gentleman wanted to retire or resign from the company, and said, he was approaching the age of retirement about a year ago, and the company he works for in the UK said no, he couldn't go, that they were going to elevate him into their board of directors, and they made him a member of the board of directors and gave him shares. So, but what happened? What was the difference between the fact that he was practicing in Nigeria before, and when he got to the UK, the very first day he resumed work, he was told not to come again? Even in your profession, you need to be aware of how things are done in the UK. Because in Nigeria, he was an engineer, a civil engineer, who basically was concerned about managing and upscaling his engineering skills and managing his own portfolio. But in the UK, he discovered when he got into the UK that even as a civil engineer, he needed some basic surveying skills. And you see, when Engineer Sulu was saying earlier on that you just need that if you know how to use, say, Total Station today, that you could get a job the following day. Basic setting out skills. Basic, and I'm talking as somebody who's not an engineer, but who is a mentor of engineers, who has a training institute, who cares about my wants, who knows that if I prepare them to be relevant in the world. So if you're listening to me now and you are an engineer still in Nigeria, and you're looking forward to coming to the UK, and you want to, beyond the immigration, this thing that I will briefly talk to, especially in your trade, you need to know that the degree to which practice skills are siloed in Nigeria is not so much the degree to which practice skills are siloed in some places, especially the UK. You need to have some basic collateral skills from contiguous disciplines. You know, you will function in a built environment. Everything starts with surveying in civil engineering. They don't need you to become a surveyor, but they need you to know basic surveying skills, so that when you are starting out, you are not starting out from somebody else's property, or touching somebody else's this thing. It's just, that is how they function here. So you want to familiarize yourself with such skills, with such basic skills. It's not because you want to become a surveyor, but because the degree to which you'll be market ready for the UK speaks to the fact that there are some contiguous or collateral skills that you must have. Now, apart from those practice skills, or shaking the peripheral practice skills that will enhance opportunities for you in the UK, you also want to know that, still talking of the cultural change, you also want to know that your communication skills, the way your basic report writing skills, because I'm sorry to say this, from the topic given to me, it is obvious that we're likely talking to people who are young graduates of engineering. And as a young graduate of engineering in Nigeria, there's a general decay that speaks to the fact that report writing skills are very lacking now in our society. And in a culture like the UK, they need you to have very articulate report writing skills, because apart from you doing what you claim to know, to what you claim you know to do, they want you to leave a trail. They know that human beings are mortals. You may not wake up tomorrow morning, and they don't want their job to stop around what you do for them. So they want a consistent record keeping and report writing, so that they will be, and even that helps them too in cost management. It helps them in the welfare of those who are say in the work environment. So my brother, my sister, if you're a young person, especially engineer, I don't know any area of engineering where you function in, you are expected to have basic report writing skills, because you will not be working in a silo. Some people will be working with you, some you will be reporting to some people, and some people will also come to audit what you do. And it's not every time they want to sit you down and just be orally interviewing you. They need to see reports. In fact, the methodology of how they work speaks to that. Okay, let's go to the inevitables now. The inevitable is that apart from the cultural differences that you need to first tune your head around, and your lifestyle around, apart from the practice etiquette in your field, that you need to get people who are already functioning in your industry to intimate you with the sine qua non of the practice, so that you can primarily have transformed yourself to a point of usefulness before departure. You also, and I'm talking as somebody who has seen it all now, not only because of my age, but because of the circumstances through which I left Nigeria about going to 30-something, going to 40 years now. You know what? Let's be very honest with ourselves. You will do far better if you make sure that you predicate your immigration drive on legal methods of immigration. Don't leave Nigeria without proper documentation to come to a country like the UK. Say you want to come with a visiting visa, and you know that you are going to overstay and find a way of doing it. Will reduce the opportunities that you can harness in a society that is disorganized. We live in an age now, and I'm talking as a sophomore, cybersecurity professional. We live in an age now where every human being, every human being is trackable and traceable. There is no degree of this thing you think you are, that you can function perpetually in a place like the United Kingdom, in the undergrowth of society. And functioning in the undergrowth of society will further frustrate you, because you will not be able to maximize the opportunities that this society can throw at you. So make sure that, and look, I have two youngsters in the UK now. One came in as an artisanal carpenter, but he was already a qualified architect. But in less than 2 weeks working on site in the UK, and the way he was reading architectural drawing, his site engineer got to know that he was actually an architect. And as we speak now, the site engineer brings jobs for him. If he did not come with the requisite documentation in the UK, the transformation and elevation opportunity wouldn't have been easy. So if you are watching this content and you are in Nigeria and you are a young engineer, you are contemplating or considering immigration to the UK, there are some things that I would enjoin you not to cut corners with. Do them right, because the strictures you may have to face, making sure that those things are done rightly, those strictures will ultimately open a windfall of opportunities for you to leverage, to maximize the potentials that this society can present to you. I really don't want to. I think I'm doing this thing on time now. I think it's about time I wrap it up. If there are further questions if there are questions to ask during the question and answer session, then I will interface with the questions that may be from my experience, especially through those that have brought to the UK, that have helped to come to the UK as young artisans and built environment professionals. We will speak to them during the question and answer session. Thank you very much. Dr. Femi Bolaji, I at this juncture want to yield. Thank you. Thank you all for listening.
So thank you, Mr. Oba. That was brilliant. That was very frank. That was informative. And we thank you for it. You are speaking from the heart, and we really appreciate that. If you joined us after we started the meeting, our seminar today is coming to work in the UK for engineering professionals. We say engineering professionals, but the reality is these things we share, they are applicable to all forms of life. The first presentation was by the EFM president, and he was talking about when you arrive in the UK, you've actually arrived. How do you go about settling into work, especially as an engineer? Then Mr. Oba spoke about before you leave Nigeria, what are the things, pertinent things you have to do? We now have time for questioning. So we would ask you, put your hand up, we would recognize you, you ask a question, and then remember that after the questions, we have 2 more sessions, which are very, very important. One of them is talking about integration in the UK, in the community, understanding the dynamics of relationship that will enable you to settle in and to make a headway. And then we'll have a recruiter. What are recruiters looking for? We'll have a recruiter speak about that topic. So questions now for Engineer Daposulu and Mr. Oba. Thank you. Questions, please. So as soon as we actually tell you what, you can unmute yourself and ask your question, and one of them would answer. I have a question for, okay, Mr. Ajala has a question. Please ask your question, Mr. Ajala. Engineer Ajala is a past president of EFN. He has very strong views. He has experience. So we are happy you're here today. And thank you. Please, your
question. Thank you, Femi. I really appreciate the 2 presentations from Engineer Sulu and Mr. Oba. Honestly, because I've been in the system of engineering for a long, long time. I was once with Highways Agency, now Highways England, Department for Transport for London for so many years, retired but not tired, working for Lewisham and Lambert now. Many people have come to me with, especially those who came here with engineering qualifications about jobs. What I find in the market right now is that we are all engineers, but it seems to me engineers are now becoming professional project managers. Even though as engineers we are project managers from day one, because we do feasibility and everything, we organize projects. But now, since project management has come into place, many of us have now become project managers and still do engineering within the project management. One of the things I always advise is that even though you got your qualifications in Nigeria, I spoke to one of my colleagues, who is a white guy. I said, why is it that, whenever we give our certificates from Nigeria, you people are very reluctant to take us? Say, yes, you guys have got brains, you've got everything, but we need qualification from here. And sometimes I advise people, okay, there's online qualifications on project management. You can become engineering project manager. Thereby, by doing that project management, like what Mr. Oba said about somebody that he told that he should go and do a course for 1 day or 2 days, try to do that course just to let them know that apart from your engineering background, you can also manage projects, because that's what people need. How do you manage projects as engineers? So many times I've told people, do this 1 day professional project management, or go and do practitioner, go and do introduction to project management, all those things, and use that to enhance yourself. Because when I was in TFL, there's something I did. We call it career plus. And what do we call career plus? You see, it's very common among the Black people or Asians that when we're engineers, when we have BSc in engineering, right, we want to do masters in engineering. So I met a guy, a lady, Gina Clark, when I was in TFL. Said that's common things among the Black BME, that would like to master ourselves in the same area, that we should look wider. So when he told me this, I decided, apart from my civil engineering, I should go and do, I did my master's in transport planning and management to widen my scope. So I make myself more employable in many areas. So as engineers coming from Nigeria, or you're already here, I would say widen your scope. Improve your marketability in the sense that if you don't get a job in civil engineering, you can get a job in project management, you can get a job in transport management. So widen your scope. At least that will help you a lot. And that's what they call transferable skill. Can transfer your skill in any area. So don't come here with your master's in civil engineering and say, oh, I have to get a job in civil engineering. And also don't look for positions. Honestly, because you're a senior manager in Nigeria, or top of your grade in Nigeria, please don't come here and think that we get the same thing. Honestly, I've seen many guys when I stayed there, they've gone back to Nigeria. When they came back, they could not find a job because they've left a gap. So be careful. Anytime, just be open. Try to widen your scope. Don't do the same thing similar all the time. And that's what that lady told me, and I've taken that on, and I've used that in many seminars in TFL, and many of the guys are doing masters in different scope, different area. Please take that on.
Thank you, Mr. Ajala. Thank you, Engineer Ajala. Patrick Dada, unmute yourself and ask a question, please. Patrick Dada, ask a question.
Hello, sir.
Yes, we can hear you. Patrick, ask your question.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you, sir. My name is Patrick Dada. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Yes, sir. As a professional in Nigeria who has practiced for a few years in civil engineering, and looking at the class of degree and the type of degree we've obtained, because we've been applying to vacancies in the UK from Nigeria here, but we discovered that despite having the experience, good grades, and practice for a lot of companies, we still have this discrimination in terms of being called for interviews. So now I want to ask, what is the best means of getting to the UK and getting a work visa? Because I know that it's not so easy to have a company sponsor your work visa from Nigeria directly. So is it advisable to be in the UK on a 6-month visa or coming on a study permit? Which is the best route? That's the question, sir.
Okay, I'll ask Mr. Oba to answer that question because that question sits with him. That is, what do you do before you leave? Mr. Oba, please unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Patrick, I really don't, okay, I want to be frank in love with you, Patrick. There are fantastic opportunities still extant that I know of UK companies wanting to recruit from at least the English-speaking West Africa. And I'm talking as somebody who has mentored dozens of young construction professionals, from either service professionals to the UK. I gave an example whilst I was talking of a young man who is an architect, but we basically encouraged him because he has good woodwork skills. We encouraged him to take up the opportunity. The companies got what they call, the companies applied for work permit for them from the Home Office. I will make sure, because I've got I'm not too famous, but I've got a name to protect. So the companies applied for work permit for them from the Home Office. Once they send the work permit to them in Nigeria, they go to the British High Commission, and I have a boy now in UK who does not speak, he can't speak a sentence. But he's a fantastic cabinet maker, as in, and they came to Lagos to interview him because the company sent their operating directors and this thing to come and to do physical, not this thing. But when it got to Nigeria, when it got to the UK, that's the architect, they discovered that he's an architect and they upscaled him. That is a rule. I would always enjoy, Patrick, let me just cut it, make it long story short. I would always enjoy that you perfect your papers before leaving Nigeria. The idea of wanting to come here and with a visiting visa and later wanting to change it, or you're making yourself vulnerable, and you are making yourself vulnerable in such a way that there are some people who have made an industry of exploiting people in those circumstances. And you will, it will ultimately bring about misery. So Patrick, research and research well. There are opportunities for people. Look, high-end skills may not be as common. Many of the engineers here function in the high net worth skill level of the UK, but they have shortage more in the middle level to the artisanal level. And those are the skills, those are the skills that they are aggressively, as I'm talking to you now, if I have a dozen roofers, I'm going as far as Dubai to go and look for roofers. If I have a dozen roofers, they won't feel the request I have to hand. And you see, we don't have that kind of roofing skills in Nigeria, that many. So, but long story short, Patrick, make sure that before you leave, your documents are right, and that you are already interfacing with the companies you're coming to relate with, and they are the ones who have perfected your papers. All this chicanery that is in town now, I keep my peace.
Thank you. Mr. Bass said something. He said, Patrick, he said, I'll be frank with you in love. We see too many sad stories here. Too many sad stories. So a word is enough for the wise. Dr. Rashid Babalola, your question, please. Please unmute yourself, Dr. Babalola.
Okay, thank you. Let me appreciate the president of EFN for this wonderful opportunity to Nigerians, professionals who wants to work in the UK. So like I earlier said during when we're interacting, this is a forum that is worthwhile. Many of our people have been scammed one way or the other under the name of I want to travel, I want to have my document, and so on and so forth. So with the links that are shared, will go a long way. We'll also be able to guide our students and the other questions I want to do that. But my question is, are there opportunities? My question is directly to Mr. Oba, who is about 40 years in the UK, and others can also be of help as well. Academics that wants to come for sabbatical in the industry in the UK. So is there opportunity of such? I'm talking of a professor in any discipline of engineering that may want to come to the UK for sabbatical. Well, let's put it either in the industry or even in the university there. Is there any opportunity that one could exploit? Thank you.
That's a good question. Mr. Oba, he asked you specifically.
Okay, let me give you, I speak to cases that I know. Example, a friend of mine who is the head of department of the major, a friend of mine who is the head of department of civil engineering of a major major well-known school in Nigeria, came to the UK, and I was talking to him. I was actually in Lagos. I was in Lagos then, and we were talking on the phone, and I said, you would have to go and do a course, and that course may not take more than a month. And he told me, Mr. Bola, the course you're talking about will cost this X amount. I said, don't worry. The facilitators, I have good reputation with them. They will let you in. They will let you start the course because I've got good name, reputation, and don't worry, I will find a way. And because if a man comes clean to you that what you believe would add value to his resume, long story short, he did a course in quality assessment with Pearson and Excel through one of the facilitators. Before he could finish, somebody who is here on a visit now lectures, now was engaged by University of Hertfordshire as a researcher. He's not lecturing direct. He's not interfacing directly with their students, but they engaged him as a researcher. You know why they engaged him as a researcher? Because he is well published. If you look at Google Scholar, his name is there. But the opportunity, what enhanced his opportunity to be engaged by Hertfordshire, University of Hertfordshire, is because he domesticated that global, well-respected skills. He domesticated it. So what the UK believes would enhance the opportunity. So his resume now will be a brand punishing opportunity for the university. But they know that they are not doing it just for his resume, but because he has acquired the skills of mentoring youngsters in his discipline that is relevant in the UK and that is UK nurtured. So I don't know if that story, I still have to respect GDPR, the General Data Protection, this thing, not going to the specifics of mentioning names and whatever. But I don't know if the seemingly anonymized story can be helpful to Engineer Bolaji.
Yes, what I hear Mr. Oba say is, in spite of your skill set and expertise, wherever you are, you need to position yourself for what the UK really needs. And that may be what opens the door for you to be able to do or to use all of the other skills that you have. That's what I hear him say in a nutshell. That's the essence of this seminar. What do you do before you...
Sorry, is it possible for such course to be offered while one is still here in Nigeria? Not necessarily when one get there, maybe you are time bound. Before you are released for sabbatical from here, you need a letter because you are not leaving your job. So is it possible?
I want to, Engineer Bolaji, sir.
Yes, sir.
Engineer Rashid Babalola,
Yes,
get in touch with the leadership of EFN, and they will give you my contact details, and we will speak to some of the opportunities that once you are in Nigeria. I'll give you another brief example, because there are still more sessions that I do. Now, I've just started a building and construction mentoring school in the UK. And the reason is that if I could train youngsters in Nigeria, and UK construction companies are taking them from me, and I have the right to live in the UK, I have the right to work in the UK, and most members of my faculty, someone did PhD at a UK university, did all these certifications, all these vocational skills. This thing is an IQA, to cut a long story short. I just felt I called a board meeting one day in Lagos, and I said, you know what, we are playing below our league. We could start and so in the UK now, we have a training institute. If somebody is coming from Nigeria and wants to be basic skills, You know, basic technical skills, survey interfaces with this thing, a training you could do in a week or two. You understand? We do that in the UK, but even in Lagos, we will, because most of our IQAs, I got my IQA both, you know, flying into London and in Lagos as a skills development entrepreneur. So get in touch with the leadership of EFN. Once we get in touch, I'll see what one can do in the area of value addition. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
What I would ask is that in the chat function, please leave your name, leave your email, leave your telephone number. If you have specific information or questions pertaining to your personal self, and we will get on to deal with that for you. Now, we have 2 more presentations because we started a bit late, but I can see Engineer Charles Akintola raising his hand for a question, and I can see our president also raised his hand. Now, Engineer Akintola, please, you ask your question in a minute. Then President Engineer Dapo Sulu, I want you to address the question that why are we encouraging Nigerians to japa? I want you to address that after Engineer Akintola has asked his question. So Engineer Charles Akintola, please unmute yourself. Okay, Engineer Akintola, unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. I want to thank the leadership of EFN, especially Dr. Bolaji, my good friend. This question is similar. I know some organizations who do such that facilitate from Nigeria. I don't know whether the last speaker, the last facilitator will be able to have a synergy with some organizations in Nigeria, like the NSC, who can facilitate that you have, like similar to what you have there, that you can lecture from Nigeria. When it comes to the examination and every other thing, you can go to UK to do it. If you can avail us of such an opportunity, I think it will work better. Like you said, it's because I've raised my hand earlier. Maybe after the meeting, we get your contact and we keep talking from there. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, so please, you would encourage everybody, leave us your name, number, and email. And if you have a specific question, please ask it. And then we will try and match you to who's best placed to help you. Engineer Sulu, we have 2 more presentations, but quickly, the view seems to be that we're encouraging people to leave Nigeria. But I've said earlier on, it's a global village. Whether we like it or not, the push and pull factors of migration will continue to play a significant role in where the labor force goes. But please address that comment. Address that comment, please, as somebody who's been in the UK for such a long time and well established.
Thank you, Dr. Femi. From my experience, the engineering skills which we obtain in Nigeria can be used anywhere in the world. Now, obviously, I've worked in the UK for a long time. In fact, when I was working in UK, a Nigerian company headhunted me to work back in Nigeria, just from the skills I gained in UK. And on the back of that, I ended up working with 3 different companies: infrastructure development, railway development, and so on and so forth. Now, there are many ways by which a country can become financially stable. It's not only by its minerals, but the most important asset a country has are its people. Now, we can see the effects of engineering around the world. We can see the effects of the status of a country being raised by the quality of its engineering. For example, look at Germany. We all know about German cars. So we all respect Germany. Look at Japanese cars. We know about them. We know about Chinese infrastructure development. That is all from engineering. The aim is not for people to just run away from Nigeria. It's actually possible to leave Nigeria, work for a short time in a foreign country, and take the skills and knowledge which are gained from working in that country back to Nigeria. For example, we all know that in the Nigerian construction scene, health and safety is something which is not, by and large, although its importance is increasing, but I remember when I was a young undergraduate 40 years ago, health and safety was practically non-existent. A lot of the developments and the improvements in construction actually come from people who've worked abroad, brought the knowledge back to the country. And like Dr. Femi, our vice president, and Chief Bola Abba have mentioned, the world is now a global village. You can actually take your skills from Nigeria and work anywhere in the world. I know people who worked in the 4 countries of the 4 corners of the globe. I mean, countries that people have hardly ever heard of, but the Nigerians there working. And by developing these skills and advancing them and improving them, they can actually develop businesses which can then earn money for themselves and for the country. I mean, I can still remember when I was a young boy many years ago. Julius Berger, a large construction company, came to Nigeria. They were just a provincial company in Germany. And just from moving to another part of the world, they became more or less Nigeria's #1 contractor. There are Nigerian engineers who work abroad, in the Middle East, Turkey, and countries like that, who have developed their skills from Nigeria and have used them to develop the country. There's so many facets to engineering that one should not limit oneself to one geographical area, because, as they say, no knowledge is wasted, no experience is bad. And the average person who comes to this country could actually be here for 2, 3, 5, 10 years and go back to Nigeria, then all of a sudden bring another facet of engineering business and improve themselves and improve the community. That's what we're aiming to do. We don't want everyone to just run away. I mean, I've been in UK for many years. Yeah, I go back and work on projects. In fact, I'm working on a project as we speak. Nigeria, using the skills I've gained from here. So, like, just to wrap up, the aim is to develop the skills which can be used to further Nigeria's development and for the development of the individual. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Engineer Sulu, for your excellent contributions. Thank you, Mr. Oba. We hope you'll stay with us. We now are going into the second half of the seminars today. And again, I'll remind us, our topic is coming to work in the UK for engineering professionals. The next person we're going to hear from is actually a recruiter. What you will find when you come here is the way you find work is very different to the way you find work back home. Just like Mr. Oba said, you don't rely on an uncle or your dad or somebody from your hometown. You go and visit them at home and they tell him you've just finished. No, the system works differently. So we've asked somebody who's a recruiter, who recruits people into workplaces to speak with us from a recruiter's perspective. What are the things that you need to do? She's Mrs. Sulu. She runs a recruitment agency and she specializes in providing staff, especially for the healthcare sector. But as we have found from this seminar, the experiences are relatable. The skills are transferable. So while she may not have been recruiting engineers, but you can be sure that what she will be sharing with us will be very pertinent. So I would ask Mrs. Sulu to please unmute herself and give her presentation now. You have 20 minutes. Please introduce yourself at the beginning. Then we'll save the questions until the end of the last seminar. There is also we've saved the best for the last. After Mrs. Sulu, we'll have another presentation and then we'll have more questions. Mrs. Sulu, please. So, Mrs. Sulu, we can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself, please.
Unmute, okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Mrs. Yetunde Sulu, and I've been recruiting for years. And I've been asked to, even though I do not specialize in engineers, but it's just to show you about how recruitment works basically in the UK. And the first thing to know is that there is no discrimination in the UK between British and non-British workers. So you are going to be paid similarly. Everybody who is working legally must be paid at least the minimum wage, as long as they are working legally. As I said, my background is not engineering, but recruitment is similar. There is a high demand for engineers in the whole world because construction, everything, software design, renewable energy projects, mechanical systems, everything requires engineers. So it's a good profession, and it's a sought after profession all over the world. Now, after Brexit, there's been a surge in demand for engineers. Not only engineers, actually, for workers in the UK, teachers, care workers, everything, because with Brexit, the Eastern Europeans who used to fill these roles have gone. So it's brought in the opportunity for other people from the world, Asia, Africa, as long as they speak English, they can work. And the benefits of working overseas, you get personal development, higher salaries, but that's with the caveats though. I'll tell you the caveat later on. Professional growth and development, quality of life, global experience, economic stability, and long-term opportunities. That's why people seek the greener pasture abroad. Now, how to apply for roles in the UK. I heard a man say that he had applied for roles in the UK and he hasn't got any. My question is, have you done 50 applications a day? You're competing with the whole world, and you need to be applying non-stop till you get one that is suitable for you. So the first thing is you must update your CV. In the UK, the CVs tend to be concise. What I've noticed with Nigerians, when they send me their CVs, they put things like state of origin, religion. No one's interested in that because there's no, you are employed on the basis of your qualifications, expertise, experience, not on the basis of your color, religion, background. All those things do not matter. So you have to make your CV concise. So don't go on to having 10 pages of CV. No, make it concise, 2 pages. Highlight your qualifications, your engineering qualifications, such as any degrees you have, certifications, professional membership. Emphasize any experience with UK standards or regulations you have. My husband, Engineer Sulu, told you about some courses you can do on health and safety, and any transferable skills that are in demand in the UK market. But make sure your CV is concise. Your name, your email address, and then you talk about your qualifications, your experience, and whatnot. Delete anything with state of origin, religion, marital status. Nobody's interested in that. And then you search for job opportunities. Their major search engines are Indeed, Monster, CV Library, and there's so many job boards, engineering job boards that are industry specific. And make sure you type in the keyword sponsorship. That is engineering roles with sponsorship. Because the person that was asking that, can you come here with a visitor's visa and change it and find work? You cannot convert a visitor's visa to anything in the UK. Visitor's visa is visitor's visa. You visit and you leave. So you cannot convert it to sponsorship. So make sure when you're searching for jobs, you put there engineering roles with sponsorship. And also building a network is very, very important. So having maybe joining the EFN or the various organizations and attending virtual events and webinars hosted by UK engineering associations would help. Then you apply for the jobs online. Tailor your CV and cover letter to each position to demonstrate your suitability. So look at what they're asking for. When a job is posted, there would be job description. You can ask for the job description. And so when you see the job description and what they need, that's how you decide if you are suitable for the job. If you are suitable for the job, make sure your CV highlights their requirements, what they've said they require. So where they've put in the job description, they'll tell you what you need to do, and they'll tell you the specification. They'll tell you that if that specification is desirable or essential. So you need to match what you're applying for to your own experience, to your qualifications. So where it says a civil engineer is needed with experience of highways or rail work, and you're a civil engineer with experience in consultancy, it's not going to work. They've told you what they need. So you have to look for roles that you are suitable for. So you make sure that what you're applying for, you've read the job description and the person's specification to make sure that your skills match those. And then you tailor your CV, highlight those things they require in your CV. And then you prepare for interviews. Interviews may differ from what you're accustomed to in Nigeria. So you need to familiarize yourself with UK interview practices. You research the company that you're applying to, if they've called you for an interview. Make sure that you know a bit about that company so that when they interview you, you are prepared for the interview. You have information about the company, and you can also ask them questions about their company. So that way they know that you're actually interested in the role. You've done some research, and it shows you in a good, positive light to the person interviewing you. Then also tell people to consider recruitment agencies. A lot of recruiters post jobs on the internet, and they're very good because it's always good to have a recruiter because they also have the knowledge of the company. They'll give you a heads up on what is required, but make sure you are dealing with recruiters that have sponsorship roles. And they may first give you a trial interview before they even send you to the company, the end company that wants to recruit a person. Then it's always good to follow up your applications or when you attend, not applications as much, but interviews. So when you've attended an interview, send thank you emails to whoever interviewed you and ask for feedback so that you know where you went wrong. If you didn't get the job, you will get the feedback if you ask for it, and they'll tell you why you didn't get the job. And then you have to be patient and persistent. It might take you a while to get work. I know a young man who had graduated from a top university here, UCL to be precise, and he graduated during COVID, an engineer. And he kept on saying, oh, I can't get a job. Nobody's recruiting me. Let me go and do Uber Eats or Uber driver. And we kept on telling, as the recruiter advised him, no, don't go and do that. Start applying for 100 roles a day. 50 roles a day, you definitely get something. But if you go and do Uber Eats or Uber driver or all these other jobs, you're not going to have time to apply for your own job. So be patient, be persistent, and something will surely come up. And it did eventually. Now, sponsorship visas. In the UK, sponsorship visas are a means for an individual from outside the UK to live and work in the country. But you require sponsorship from a UK employer for work. Educational institution, that's if you want to come and study, then you get a study visa, but they're sponsored as well. But what pertains to most of you would be a tier 2 general visa, that's for work. And to be eligible, applicants must have a valid certificate of sponsorship from a UK employer, and you meet certain other requirements as English proficiency and minimum salary thresholds, which can be traded off anyway with their qualifications. It is also important and crucial for individuals to be cautious, because I've heard so many horror stories of people, but that's with the care visa though, people paying £15,000, £20,000, £10,000 for a visa, only for them to get to the UK. They've sold everything and they have nothing. The agent has brought them here. There's no work, nothing. And if you're not working, or these people who brought you here, their license is cancelled, you have 60 days to find another job, or you leave the country. So you have to be careful. If people are asking you for money for sponsorship license or for sponsorship visa, be very wary. It might be a fraud. And then I tell people as well, from the stories I've heard, people who've come to me, you need to prepare for relocation. England is not Nigeria. That is the first thing. When you receive or if a job offer, you start planning your move. Look at the accommodation. Accommodation is very expensive in the UK. So when I hear people say, oh, but I was promised X amount of money per hour or whatever. Yes, in Nigeria, it might seem a lot of money, but in the UK, it's actually not a lot, because rent is expensive, transportation is expensive, everyday living is expensive. So you need to bear that in mind before you just think, oh, I want to relocate, I want to relocate, I want to relocate. Another thing I tell people to be mindful of is childcare. Some families have had their children removed from them because the eldest child, who is no more than 10 or 11, has been left with 3 other younger siblings. I'll never forget a lady who sent me a picture of her child, her toddler. She had left the toddler with a 10-year-old. The toddler had burnt herself. I can't remember what she said the toddler touched. The 10-year-old has put the hand under water, and then there was a massive, the hand was swollen, there was a big blister and everything. And it was a big deal. I told her she had to go back home immediately and take that child to the hospital, because if she left it till the following day, then that is child neglect with serious consequences. So these are all the things you need to bear in mind when you are thinking of relocating to the UK, looking for work. Yes, it seems good and nice, but they're the setbacks that you need to consider. And then there's some support groups for engineers that you can get in touch with. EFN for one, at Engineering UK, and then search social media for engineering support groups for in the UK that you may that might be able to help you in getting work in the UK. So basically that's it. Make sure that you're applying. If you want to come to the UK, you're applying for jobs with sponsorship. Make sure you are really prepared for it. And I wish you all the best in that. Then that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions at the end, you can let me know.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sulu. That was very pertinent. And she touched on points that we may not consider when we're thinking about this move. Many times we're just thinking about the social, cultural challenges we're facing, the prospects of earning pounds, the prospects of a better life, the prospects of better schools for our children, but there's a lot more to think about. We're going to have one more presentation. Now, this one is very important. It's going to touch on how you integrate within the society when you come and how you relate with where you've come from in such a way it does not jeopardize your position when you are here. And also the things that you need to pay attention to be able to consolidate your stay. Before you get there, it would likely have cost you a fortune. You would likely have left quite a lot behind. But for you to be able to go forward, if not backwards, there's some things you need to pay attention to. So that's what their engineer Patrick Obidoyin is going to be speaking about. He's a member of EFN as well. Like I said to you, we have people in every facet of life and society who are able to help you, who are able to help add value to your relocation decisions. So he will introduce himself, and then he has 20 minutes. After his presentation, then we would have questions for Mrs. Sulu and Engineer Patrick Obidoyin, followed by general networking. Engineer Patrick, please unmute yourself and make your presentation.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. EFN. Can I just share my screen, please? Is it possible to? I've only got actually 2 slides. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so thank you so much, EFN, and especially those working behind the scenes, Madam Ola, Dr. Femi Bolaji, and the President, Engineer Dakwa Sulu. Thank you also to the previous speakers, the EFN President, Mr. Gbola Oba, who is actually a very big fish. I know how passionate he is about engineering and especially built environment and construction. I know I've met him at EFN event in London in the past few years. So we actually have quite a lot of very experienced people here. So I'm quite surprised as to why I was asked to talk about this when there are people with quite very much more experience than me in the UK. I've only been in the UK for, I'll be 20 years this year, but I know lots of people on this call, former President, Dr. Engineer Tony Ajala, and others who have been in the UK even really much longer than me, probably twice. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I do not take it for granted. I hope you'll be able to learn a few things from what I'm going to say. My side of the presentation is actually not scientific or engineering, but coming to the UK involves more than just your engineering skills, just like engineer Dr. Femi Bolaji has talked about.
Engineer Patrick, please introduce yourself.
Okay, yes. So just a brief introduction about myself. My name is Engineer Patrick Obidoyin. I started off studying electronic and electrical engineering at Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, and then had my master's in data telecommunications and networks from Salford University, and then an MBA from Lancaster University Management School, Lancaster University. So I'm currently the chairman of Nigeria Society of Engineers, Manchester branch. So I've been involved with EFN even before NSC was formed in the UK. So you can see how long my relationship with EFN is. I'm currently registered. I'm a senior member of Institute of Electronic and Electrical Engineers in the USA, which I've been since 2001 after I graduated. And also I'm an entrepreneur with interest in IT, interest in agriculture, and interest in food export of food produce, amongst others. Yeah, so I think that's just a very brief about me. I also volunteer myself within the community. I'm on the board of trustees of Nigeria Community Greater Manchester. I'm also on the board of Seed Foundation, a UK registered charity as well. Yeah, so that's just brief about me. I've only got these slides, but I'll just speak from the mind, and I would hope during the question and answer session, I'll be able to get some of the engineers with experience to also share their experience. So I've been asked to talk about integration, understanding the dynamics, relationship dynamics. So first of all, talking about a family relationship, spouse, communication, agreements, understanding change in power imbalance between husband and wife. Secondly, I'll be speaking about relationship with Nigeria, managing expectations of people back home, homeward investment and business, and also the importance of settling and leveraging on the diaspora networks, especially professional association, faith association, and all the rest. I've really benefited so much from the communities I've actually both volunteered with. So I think you will see how this all fits in with my very brief presentation. I would want this to be quite interactive. The lived experience of all of us are very different. How we came into the UK, how we related with those we initially met. So, but I would like to ask a question, and I would want us to type it in the chat box. I don't know how many people have heard about the 90-10 principle. If you have heard about it, just type yes. If you haven't, just type no. So I would want this session to be interactive, not just me speaking. So please, if you've heard about the 90-10 principle, you can just type in the chat box. If you have, type yes. If you haven't, just type no. Yeah, thank you, Engineer Tony Ajalia. Thank you, Precious. Thank you, Engineer Vera. Thank you, Engineer Titi. Okay. Engineer Dakposulu, yeah, I'm very pleased you've heard about it. I'll be surprised if you haven't. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So thank you so much for that. So with regards to this, the 90-10 principle was first popularized by Stephen Covey, and it says that 10% of life is made up of what happens to you, and 90% of life is decided by how you react. I'll just state that again. 10% 10% of life is made up of what happens to you, and 90% of life is decided by how you react. We truly have no control over 10% of what happens to us. So effectively, with good decision and the help of God, because I'm a person of faith, we have some bit of control over our lives. So you can see that the way you react to things actually affect how everything else shapes up your day. So I would like to follow up with a second question, which I would like to then combine with the first question which I've asked. So, and the question is, how many decisions on the average do we make in a day? I'll just type in. So how many decisions on average do we make in a day? There's no right or wrong answer about this, but just okay, so I can see 5, I can see 4, I can see 9,100. That's engineer tech. I can see 30, no specific, average of 30. So much, yeah. Multiple decisions. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so I think we make a lot of decisions every day. You wouldn't believe how much decisions you make every day. Probably in the thousands for a lot of people. Because you wake up in the morning and you decide, when should I wake up? That's a decision in itself. What should I wear? That's a decision. Sometimes you might have gone to bed thinking, I'll wear something else, but you wake up in the morning and you say, no, let me change that. Sometimes as well, you might be able to say, maybe for those in London, I know those of us around Manchester, we have to drive to work. You might decide, should I drive to work or should I go on the public transport? What route should I drive on my way to work and avoid traffic? Maybe depending on when you leave home. What should I eat? All these are decisions that determine how your day experience will be. It will determine whether you have a bad day or a good day. You might be at work and somebody speaks to you impolitely or asks a question which you are not happy with. How you react determines what happens next. So you can all see how the importance of the decision and the reactions affect what we do. The previous speakers, I think especially Mr. Gboloba and Audrey, he was talking about the courses you could do before you prepare and leave Nigeria and all the rest. These are all decisions we have to make. I'm a person of faith. I'm not shy to say that, and I'm not. I do not hide the fact that I'm a person of faith. But I think in all these decisions, we need the guidance of God in order to be able to do it right. And the reason I say this is sometimes the way you react to colleagues at work or to your spouse or to people around you determines the type of relationship you enjoy with them. Some of the questions or the reactions you might get from people might be as a result of something else. They might not be having a good day, but the way you react to them will determine whether you've win them over or whether you will continue down the path which might not really be very, very good. So they say when you are in Rome, do as the Romans do. I think Mr. Gboloba did talk about the cultural change, giving specific example. which I don't want to go into again. Mrs. Sulu talked about childcare and some of the decisions parents could make. So that's why I'm trying to say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Because you can't leave a child at home unattended to. These are costs. Childcare is a very big cost in the UK. So I think it's really very important that we look at. And I think there was also talk about the rule of law. I think that was how Mr. Gboloba started, that UK is a place of the rule of law. And that's why things thrive. Because when there are established rules, everybody then knows how to engage. And it becomes a guide as to, am I stepping the bound, overstepping the bound, or am I staying within the bound? So I think, these are all very important. So in the UK, the opinion of a spouse really counts. I know some engineers might be men, some might be women. So I think that's why I'm trying to make sure that I use the word spouse rather than husband, or I don't want to be assuming that the male is the engineer. So let me just use the word spouse. So the opinion of spouse counts. In Nigeria, people could just take decisions and then get home and just tell their wife, well, I've taken this decision. Maybe you've been posted out of a particular location. These are issues you have to discuss with your family to make sure that you're able to maintain a very good relationship with your family. I think one shocking thing for me actually was when I applied for MBA at Lancaster University, I was invited for an interview. They've reviewed my application, and then one of the questions, which I always remember till now, was when the director asked, does your wife have the buy-in of you studying? Because I was working, I was working full-time, and this an executive MBA, which means I was going to be combining my full-time work with my role as a family man with my studies. So when he asked this question, it wasn't something I'd really prepared for. So I had to say, well, I hope she does, but I think I'll get to discuss with her. And when I got back home, my wife asked me how the interview went. I said, well, it depends on you. And she laughed. I said, how does this depend on me? I said, because the MBA director was asking if you have the support for my studies. And this single conversation would end up shaping the support I had to be able to complete my MBA. Because working and studying, if you have a young family, as a lot of people can attest to, is really very, very tedious. But because that conversation came up and she had her buy-in and she understood the role she was going to play to support me, it made me have the peace of mind and the support to be able to complete that program. And thankfully, we all went for the graduation, having all the other executive MBA members coming together with their families as well. And, everyone reminiscing about the support they all had, we all had as a family. So very important. And the reason I've brought up this specific interaction to drive home the point is just any big decision you need to make as a family in the UK. The culture is different from Nigeria, where decisions are made. You need to factor it. If you are single, then that's fine. I think you can just make your decision on the fly. So whether it's finance, involvement in charity, because time is money in the UK, if you are giving up your time for charity, you still need to make sure that you have buy-in from people who would be deprived of that time, which you should be having with them. So anything that will take off your time, your resources, get your spouse buy-in, In Nigeria, most men are more financially empowered than their female counterparts, so, and the culture is different. Then coming up to children as well. Children have rights in the UK. The opinion of children counts. You have to communicate with them. So in Nigeria, you can just tell your child, do this. They don't need to ask questions, or if they have questions, you can just probably shun them off. But I think in the UK, it's quite a different culture. You need to communicate with them. You need to explain things to them. You need to make them see reason, which will make them learn as well. I think there's really nothing bad in that, so that they can understand your perspective. And there might also be perspective which they would share, which you will be able to learn from as well. So give time to your children, find time to understand what's going on. When they come back from school, ask them questions so that you can understand what is happening at school. I think these are all very important. And if you work long hours, there are certain times when you have to work long hours. Let them know why you are doing so. Some engineering roles might involve engineers working, especially for those who are into contracting. They might have to live in a particular part of the UK and work in the and find an opportunity that is much better in a different region. If you have to do that and you have buy-in from your family, it will make it very good, because they would understand why you are having to do that it's for the benefit of the whole family. So reassure your children as well. Find one activity or the other to keep them busy. I think there is a very popular saying in Nigeria that an idle hand is the devil's workshop. So I think the same applies everywhere. So if you keep children busy with activities, especially in this day of social media, where they can easily be influenced by a lot of things, it gives time. It keeps them away from other things which you might not want them to engage in. And those formative years are really very important. So there are quite a lot of activities which are also free. So all activities are not really paid for. If you're, I think sport is a very good one. So maybe we might have people here whose children are also involved in sports, and you won't believe it, because when I first I didn't really think a lot about this, and I just want to quickly digress a bit before coming back to the point I was trying to make. When I was many years ago, I would ask about some people and they'll say, "Oh, my child is going for football." I said, "But Sunday is meant to be a day for church." You know, I couldn't understand why they would want child to go and do football. But the good thing is, some churches already understand the way the system works and have made provision as well for worship, even on a Saturday, especially for us Catholics. I can speak, let me give our own instance. You have the same mass on a Saturday, which is meant to be for Sunday. I certainly do not encourage, if possible, for people to do other things on Sundays, but I think you need to find that balance. And if you look at the way some people have progressed in sports, I think we do have some very young Nigerians, of children of Nigerian origin, doing very well in sports. Before you know it, a child could be about 14, 15 years, they will already have sponsorship into grammar schools, which are very, very expensive to pay for, because of their involvement with probably clubbing activities. They might be playing for maybe Manchester United, Manchester City, or in the junior club of other. So you already start getting some of the benefits of your sacrifice in taking them to sports. it could be lawn tennis, it could be anything else. Before 18, some of them could be earning millions, which you probably will not earn in engineering all your lives. And that is because you've taken time to make that sacrifice. So if you can, and you notice your child is blessed in one way or the other, encourage them. It doesn't mean they won't study whatever they need to study, but it could also be, you also be providing that opportunity. You might have to retire early to become a manager of your child, just like the Serena family, but I don't see anything bad in it. But when you're in the environment, look at the opportunities that are available and try to make sure you leverage on it. There are also coding clubs being organized by some engineering association. I know on this call, we have the young woman engineer of IET. I won't mention her name, but right on this call, we have the young woman engineer of the Institution of Engineering and Technology present with us here. So, and she is also a member of the Association for Black Minority Engineers. They do a lot of good things. They have coding clubs for children. This is all free. It's all online. Which I believe my children have attended some of them, and they gained from those activities. And AFB is led by one of our own as well, Dr. Nike Folayan. She's doing great work. There are a lot of other charities as well, which provide some of these activities. So there are also community associations as well that provide different activities for children. For example, Seed Foundation, which I'm a board of trustees, I'm a member of the board of trustees, provides some holiday clubs as well. So you could find some of this around you, which would also save you some money and help your children to develop. So I know especially for AFB, I'm quite impressed with that because it helps our children to develop interest in engineering. Because as an engineer, I want us to be able to bring up future engineers that will replace us when we are retired, and especially more practicing from within our own Nigerian communities. Yeah, so get children occupied. We don't want our children to get into trouble. I think Mrs. Sulu talked about childcare. So I think sometimes neglect could bring the social services on your doorsteps. And I know some families relocating from Nigeria have had problem with the social services, in which case some of their children have been taken away from them. And when your children is taken away from you, I think it destabilizes your whole life. So I don't want to go so much into it because I know the Welfare Department of Nigeria High Commission has been involved with some cases where they've gone to represent children in courts, or at least have been invited to come and witness court proceedings involving Nigerian families, because they are not UK citizens. So I think sometimes they have to call the Nigeria High Commission Welfare Department to come and participate in the proceeding. I know there's a Mr. Odedeyi of Save the Woman. He's doing quite a lot of very good job to educate parents on the culture in the UK here. So that's something which people can look out for. It's a webinar. You can join from anywhere to understand how the family life works here and how you relate with your children. I think another thing that is very important, which I should mention here, is in Nigeria, the man might be the main financier. In the UK, it might not be that way. Women are much more empowered here. In fact, sometimes your wife might be earning more than you. So if when you are earning more, you've disregarded your spouse, then I think the same might happen when they start earning more than you. So I think we need to make sure we have that mutual respect for each other, and also work together as a family. There's nothing wrong with a man cooking. I know I know of a family I know of a man, who has been living in Nigeria before and doesn't eat the next day's soup. And that's one of the things causing problem in the family. I know it's very minute, but I think some of these things could be managed. Yeah, so I think we need to make sure we look into all that. So then with relationships back in Nigeria, managing expectations of people back home, there's quite a very big disconnect sometimes with the reality, and I do not blame people. I remember when I was about to come to the UK to study myself in 2004, because I was going to be self-funded, I was already looking at jobs. What type of job can a student do? How can I pay my fees from this job? And how can I maintain myself? I was already looking into some of those. But I remember somebody saying, Patrick, just come first. When you get here, you will understand better how things work. When you're in Nigeria, you're beginning to calculate, then it used to be about, minimum wage used to be about, I think less than £5 an hour when I came in. You would have calculated that, okay, by the time I get a job paying £6 because I'm into IT, I'll work this amount of time, I'll be able to save this amount, those are, hello? Yeah, so I think those are not, it's better to understand the culture better. So try and do your research. The information is much more available than it was when we came. So I think whatever we can do to make sure that those coming after us are able to progress, I think it will always be welcome. I know members of Nigeria community in Manchester here, some of our older people, for no fault of theirs and for the way the situation was when they came, speaking to them, you would know that these are people well endowed that would have really been able to break barriers. But the opportunities that were available to them as at that time is not as much as what is available to us now. And the opportunities that will be available to those coming and to our children is much more than what is available to us as well. So I think that's the way we should look at things. We should always try to make things better than we found it. The world is a much better place now because of those who have made things much better for us to be able to enjoy the comfort we're enjoying now. So we need to be able to manage those reality. In the UK, you have a lot of financial commitments as well. Yes, you can earn a lot of money, but you also have commitments. You have bills. So the infrastructure is there. Yes, we enjoy the infrastructure, but they also have to be paid for. You pay for your water bill, you pay for your electricity bill, which might be different depending on which electricity company you are on. You can't go and be doing a letter saying we're not going to pay this category A bill or category B or whatever it is. Whatever bill you get, you have to resolve it with your electricity company. You have mortgage to pay, you have insurance, you have council tax, you have road tax, you have activities for the children and childcare, which actually cost a lot. During holidays, when the school is not in session, you would also have to pay for holiday clubs. And I think one advice I would like to give to people here, or something they should research into, is the childcare voucher or something similar. So if you are a full-time employee, there's a scheme called the childcare voucher scheme, which you can get some vouchers to be used for the children and this will be used to pay for holiday clubs, after-school clubs, and stuff like that. because most schools will be open up until about 3 o'clock. Depending on the type of job you do, you might need an after-school club. Rather than paying cash or paying directly to those childcare services, you could actually use from the voucher, which will save you on tax. So those are things people could look at if they are looking at, if they have young children. So also try to prioritize your outgoings, especially, well, in Nigeria. I think one of the main things for people in Nigeria is probably your parents. Yeah, I think having a parent who is still alive is a blessing. So I would say look after them while they are still alive. It's a blessing. So, but maintain a very stable home in the UK before committing to certain things in Nigeria. I think because at the end of the day, you want to be able to do it in a sustainable way. So another item I would like to touch about is the importance of finding and leveraging on the diaspora network. From my relationship with the Engineering Forum of Nigeria in the UK, EFN, which was there even before the NSC came into being, I've really benefited a lot. Got to know people like Engineer Femi Bolaji, the President Dakbosulu, Engineer Dakbosulu, and also Dr. Boma Douglas and all the rest of them. And in fact, it was through the EFN that I even got to know about a lot of other people within the NSC structure, because prior to NSC coming into existence in the UK, EFN had a very good rapport with both Koren and NSC. And they were facilitating bringing those officials over to the UK to interview, to do presidential interviews, and also to do NSC corporate membership. So I think these are some of the things which we need to understand, our partnerships that have been there, and we should all continue to work together. So I think there's something else which, in recognition of what is happening due to the Japa syndrome, it's not as if, I think there was a question there. We're not encouraging people to Japa, but I think if people have to come, we need to be able to support them. The NSC, through the current president, Engineer Margaret Oguntala, has instituted a committee called the NSC International Mobility Committee, the Nigeria Society of Engineers International Mobility Committee. And we have all the diaspora branches now, the 3 branches in the UK, as well as the branch in Saudi Arabia, the branch in US, and the branch in Canada, all have this International Mobility Committee now, such that if you're an engineer and you're a member of the Nigeria Society of Engineers, you could reach out to this committee just to touch base with them, depending on which country you are going into. So I believe EFN as well could also be part of this support. I would say this particular conference seminar is also supporting that. So I think there are also other organizations that one could belong to in order to become professionally registered in the UK. If you want to become a chartered engineer, we have professional engineering institutions. So the difference here is, in Nigeria, you can register with NSC, and then, or you could register directly with Koren. It doesn't work that way in the UK. In the UK, you cannot go directly to the Engineering Council. You have to register through your professional engineering institutions, PEIs, they are called. So I think that's something which, and there are lots of PEIs, about 40 of them or more in the UK. For example, I belong to the Institution of Engineering and Technology, IET, which I've been a member of since 2005. It used to be called the IEE then. before it merged with another PEI and then became the IET. So there are other institutions as well, such as BCS. I know Engineer Dakposulu touched about on this briefly during his presentation. So we have the BCS, which is also the Chartered Institute for IT. There's the Institution of Mechanical Engineers, IMECI. I think these are popular ones. The Institution of Civil Engineers, ICE. The Chartered Association of Building Engineers, CABE. The Chartered Institute of Building Services Engineers, CIBSE. I think we also have the Institution of Highway and Highways and Transportation. We have the Institution of Water and Environmental Management, CIWEM, and the Energy Institute. For those interested in Energy Institute, or if you do things around energy, Dr. Boma Douglas, one of the past president of EFN, is also one of the interviewers on the panel of the Energy Institute. So I think if you do anything within that place, you already have someone in-house to give you that guidance and mentorship. There is also the Institution of Agricultural Engineers, the Institution of Chemical Engineers, ICHEM. These are popular ones. The Institution of Engineering Designers, the Institution of Highway Engineers. There's quite a lot of them. So if you're interested in any of these institutions, and that's the institution you feel will be closest for you to be able to demonstrate your competence in order to be able to register for to become a chartered engineer in the UK. So you can register with them and then walk through your chartership. So I think that's probably, so if you go on the website of the Engineering Council, you should be able to see all these PEIs, Professional Engineering Institution. Register with them, and then you can also get assistance from both the members of NSC and members of EFN to be able to support your application. So it is through, it's also good to leverage on your faith communities. So depending on what religion you are, be it a Muslim or a Christian, it will be good for you to relate with some of these faith communities as well. So I think these are all support networks. Speaking of charities as well, we also have Kanuk. I know Engineer Dakposulu talked about this earlier. I remember when Ambassador Gotade was here, I remember we visited him as a part of EFN to welcome him and to introduce ourselves to him. So yes, EFN is a member of Kanuk, Central Association of Nigerians in the UK. A lot of other communities are part of Kanuk. So I think these are all very good organizations to belong to. We also have NIDO, Nigerians in Diaspora. The difference between NIDO and Kanuk is an umbrella organization of different associations. So it's not an individual member based. You can't be a member of Kanuk, but your association can be a member of Kanuk. But NIDO or NIDO have individual membership. So we have different local communities. I belong to the Nigeria community in Greater Manchester, and there are also Nigerians in Leeds, Nigerians in different parts of, so these are associations you can belong to gain knowledge about your local environment, what is happening, and how you could support your community as well. Then with regards to investing in Nigeria, I think for those of us that are privileged to have been in the UK, it's more of a corporate social responsibility That's the way I look at it for us. And there are also opportunities in different sectors which you can invest in and participate in bringing about that change. I've always believed that you only have to be part of something to make a change rather than complaining from outside. There are opportunities in agriculture, in infrastructure development, which I know EFN has been doing a lot and its members have been doing a lot in that area. There are opportunities in mining as well. I think this is something which this particular government is promoting. I'm not a politician, so please, I'm not promoting any particular government, but I believe this is an area which has always been there, but especially mining, which people have not been looking into, but which the current Minister of Solid Minerals is actually promoting, and manufacturing as well. So I know some of these things are being affected by the insecurity in the nation, but if there are solutions we have as diasporans that can help improve the security situation, that can help improve the food situation, I'm really quite ashamed that Nigeria has to lift ban on importation of food because we don't have enough food. We have one of the best arable lands in the world, and yet in the midst of plenty, we're having to import food. I think it's a shame. So not just a shame to us all, because we need to get our acts together and make sure that there's food sufficiency, there's food security in the nation. As mentioned earlier, I've got interest in myself and some other diasporans. I've got interest in agriculture in Nigeria. If there are areas where you would like to have interest, I think explore it, see how you could make things better. You can only make a little change, and that little change, if everybody else makes that little change, I think the nation will be a better place and would all be respected for it. And I think somebody did make a comment earlier about the Asians. Yeah, I think Mr. Gbolaoba did make that the way the Asians are respected, that when a long time ago, I think I will give this specific example. When I was much younger, if you bring something up and say made in Taiwan, it shows that it's inferior. Same with China. But these days, China is the manufacturing capital of the world. So we just have to start from somewhere. We've got a young population. There are cooperations between Nigerians in diaspora and Nigerians at home, which can help to bring about change. I think just to quickly end, we have an event at the Nigeria Society of Engineers, Manchester, in which the NSC president and some people from Nigeria will be coming for, which is, it's titled around Achieving Food Security in Nigeria with Diaspora Engagement. And this will be coming up in the University of Manchester on the 16th of July. So we'll try to make it a hybrid, which people will be able to join as well. So I believe we need to make sure there's food security in Nigeria, so that people will then be able to, because if you look at the Maslow's hierarchy, first of all is security. You know, if you are being chased by a lion, food is not of importance to you. It's higher up the chain. So we need to bring about that security. We need to bring about food sufficiency. If you look at the UK, nobody thinks so much about food. The amount you spend on food on the average, it's very low compared to your income. But I was listening to an analysis in Nigeria, and I think Mr. Gbolaoba, who is much more in the public domain, might be able to correct me. A lot of people spend about 90% of their income on food. I think that's not good at all. So where's all the other money for infrastructure development going to come from if people spend all their money on food? So yeah, I would like to pause there, and I'll be happy to take some questions, or I think I would say actually interaction. So thank you very much all for listening, and thank you so much to EFN. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Patrick. That was eye-opening. He's gone over and above the brief we gave him. And that's primarily because he was speaking from experience. Thank you very much. We now will take questions for Mrs. Sulu, who spoke about a recruiter's perspective. You're already here, or you're still planning to come. How can you actually get yourself into work? How do you prepare? Likewise, Engineer Patrick Obidonye has spoken about you're here. What's your social capital? That is what it is. What do you need to leverage to be able to integrate and make a way forward? So the protocol is, please put your hand up and then we will recognize you and you can ask your question. I would ask Engineer Bidemi, please ask your question. Your hand is up. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Engineer Bidemi, I can see you. Yes, unmute yourself and please ask your question.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, yeah. My name is Abidemi Ogunaike, a certified engineer of over 10 years experience back home, but a new immigrant in UK of over a year ago. But due to difficulties in getting a role in construction industry here, so I opted for a security job in order to pay my bills. So though while doing that, I have some certification in in some certification SMSTS, first aid at work, and setting out for construction. And my question is this: is it advisable to put my years of experience in my CV, knowing fully well that even those that might be in the recruitment team might not have that years of experience, and might kind of speak against me, or probably intimidate some of them. And another thing is having a security experience for a while. Can I include that in my CV? I think that might send a wrong signal that one has even losing touch in engineering experience over a year, being over a year doing security work. And also, I will have to, this question is to Engineer Zulu, talking about applying for a permanent role and a lower cadence. Can I apply as a laborer or assistant setting out engineer on site, or possibly is it maybe I can just apply as a volunteer? Maybe that would be, I would need advice on that, because like Mrs. Zulu has said, I've applied a lot of applications on a daily basis, but I will still not relent. I keep on doing that. Then this associations are a platform, kind of was a platform whereby job opportunities are posted every now and then. One can just apply and every other. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mrs. Sulu to take the questions, and later on, it will be possible for other speakers to contribute. Mainly, he's asking, can I play down my qualifications? So he's asked that question, should I play down my qualifications, considering he did say something which is quite debatable, that the people who are assessing the applications may not have that qualification. Then he talked about unrelated experience. He's been working in security and is looking for a job in engineering. Should they include it, what he's been doing in the last year? Then he talked about, I remember those. Please, Mrs. Sulu, if you could address those ones, please. please unmute yourself and help us answer his question.
Okay.
Will he play down his qualifications?
No, he shouldn't.
Related?
Sorry, he shouldn't play down his qualifications. He should write his qualifications down. He should keep applying, but maybe to get onto the site, to get the experience, he should apply for roles as supervisor, not engineer yet, just to get himself onto that. My husband will deal with, actually. Let me leave that to him. But don't write your qualifications down and your experience as a security person as well. Because you've relocated from Nigeria, put your experience from Nigeria, all the trainings you've done here, so your SMSCS or whatever it's called, your first aid at work, all the cards that you need, put them down that you've got that. And then for me, from a recruiter's perspective, you're better off applying through an agency. So agencies put out a lot of work. And make sure your CV is on CV Library and all the major job boards. And then continue to check for those jobs that you want to do on the site. I don't know what part of the UK you are in. So, and I don't know how much work is there for construction. But I know in London, there is a lot of construction work. In Greater London, there is a lot of construction. I know in Manchester, there is, because they're building up Manchester. They're building up Leeds. So you just need to persevere and keep applying through recruitment agencies. They're there on the job boards, posting the jobs. And I'll let Engineer Sulu deal with what level he should apply to.
Okay, so Engineer Sulu, maybe we could just get you to talk about, he's asking, should I apply as a laborer? Chief Bola Oba is also going to contribute to this. We need you to contribute to this. So Engineer Sulu, but before Engineer Sulu, I remembered an experience I had. When I came to the UK about 25 years ago now, I realized the importance of preparation. So that's what we've been talking about. You need to prepare, you need to be coached. I wasn't making a headway until I went to a career seminar and a recruiter was there and she said, I know why you're not getting interviews. And she sat with me, helped me to organize my CV in the UK format and highlighted the skills I had. Not long after that, I got a call from an agent that said, we recruit people from Australia and South Africa to come and work in the UK. But looking at your CV, I think we should be able to help you. They said they were searching their database and I showed up with a skill set saying I could use AutoCAD. So to answer your first question about playing down, there was this organization that had two vacancies, a technician and an engineer. So the agency they were jittery to send me for the engineering role because I was fresh. So they sent me for an interview for the technician role. There was another lady who was Asian. They sent her to an interview as an engineer. Both of us failed the interview. So the agent called us back. The agent called us back and said, apologized to me and sent me back to the same organization for an interview as an engineer, sent the lady back to the interview, same organization as a technician. Both of us got the role. And when I started, people said to me, people who've been here 5 years longer than you didn't get this kind of job. So don't underplay coaching, mentoring. Many of us need to be teachable. Many of us are quite set in our minds what to expect when we get to the UK. That's what causes the problem for us sometimes. So Engineer Sulu, please, and then Mr. Bola Oba to address this important question he's asked, please. Engineer Sulu, please unmute yourself and
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Femi. Responding to the question, the gentleman has stated that he spent a year working in security. That in itself shows that he's flexible. He's able to move his skill set and apply them to other areas of endeavor. That's one thing. Secondly, by working in the security field, it shows that he has no criminal record. Let's put it that way. So that is a major plus. Thirdly, now is the time to even apply for jobs, because as I mentioned in my piece, during the summer holidays between June, July, and August, that's when people go on holidays. So that is when the number of vacancies increases significantly. So if you continue applying, maybe a company which is difficult, will just say, okay, let's try you on this site. And that's how many people gain entrance into the construction industry. And if you're there, if you do a good job, they can retain you during the session, and that would be your entrance into the construction industry. I would recommend that if you're offered employment, or offered an interview, make sure you do a thorough background check on the company you're working for, the type of job. Maybe if you have the time, maybe go on the internet and just do a short course on that's related to your employment. If, for example, you're taken on to work on a railway, for example, do a bit of research on the railways, what you need to do, what you are required to do, what tasks they carry out on that job, to ensure that you are ready. So as soon as you're employed on the job, you're ready to hit the ground running, as they say. And finally, like I said before, you should make sure you take full advantage of the opportunity, because even if the opportunity is only a short-term one, if you do well there, you'll be able to use that job and gain a reference to work on another project. And in UK, it is essential that you don't burn bridges when you leave work. If you want to move from one job to another, always have someone who can give you a good reference, because once you've got a good reference in one job, it helps you gain further employment. Thank you.
So, Chief Baloba, please, your contribution. Unmute yourself. He was asking, should he be looking for work as a laborer? He's an engineer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bolaji. I like to speak to solution direct. I guess